Alright guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video for you. So I'm still in Helsinki, here in Finland, and we are going to have a little look at this place behind me, Olarin Panimo. So we are actually on the Aalto University campus, which is in the Otaniemi part of Helsinki. These guys are from Olari though, which is about 2 kilometers away. This brewery has been going since about 2016. They're about 6 years old, but they've been here at this site for about 4 years, I think he was saying, since 2018. So yeah, we'll do as we always do. We'll go in, we'll have a taste of some of the beers, we'll have a look around, and again, I hope you guys enjoy this out and about video. This is a brewery that's featured on the channel before, but yeah, to try their beers fresh is going to be pretty nice. So let's get started on this one. I hope that you guys enjoy it. Really cool to be filming more out and about videos for you here in Finland. Let's go. So yeah guys, as I mentioned, we are actually on part of the Aalto University campus, and Riku was telling me that this university is very well known for science and engineering, potentially the best Finnish university in these subject categories. Fat Lizard Brewing, incidentally, is just over there, and that's probably going to be the next out and about video that you'll see after this one. But yeah, they've got this nice outdoor area. They're right next to Trap Factory as well. There's a cow that you can go and have your beer on, or a bull, I guess we could say. They've got some of the signs there. But yeah, I have to say, the interior of this place is pretty cool. So yeah, Olarin Panimo, we are open. We'll squeeze through the hole here so we're not having to play about with doors and things. But yeah, when you come in, you can see the brew kit and things right away. There's lots of beer artwork and things all about. They've got these nice posters up here as well. There you can see Olari, which, like I say, is the hometown of these guys. But you can see they've got some really nice kind of graffiti style artwork actually, and they've got a few of the signs for some of the old beers up here. I wish we'd been there for the Dinkelbock actually. I always enjoy those. But yeah, there you can see Riku, Mika and my dad are just chilling. But yeah, they've got a piano. I'm sure you can play that if you asked. They've got the Olarin Panimo. You can get your growlers round here. You can also get your bottles and things too. But yeah, there's the bar over there. It looks pretty nice, I have to say. So yeah, really cool little venue actually, I have to say. Yeah, pretty awesome. So yeah, that's the inside here at Olarin Panimo. I've been filming some of the beers already, so yeah, we'll continue on with that. Alright guys, well, time for our first tasting then here at Olarin Panimo in Helsinki. So yeah, this one should be quite interesting. This is another style that I haven't seen too many of, and it just kind of caught my eye, and again, it's a nice place to start with these videos. So yeah, for this one, we are going to have a look at a beer called Maricello. It comes in at 5.2% ABV. They're describing this one as an American lager, and it's also a collaboration with a cartoon artist. I forget the name. Riku did tell me the name. It was 2Ps, but apparently if you buy a bottle of this, you open the cap up and it says "fuck you" underneath. So yeah, kind of interesting. But yeah, you can see with this one, as you'd expect from a lager, it's poured a lovely kind of pale golden straw colour. You can see some of the big bubbles just going up toward the bottom of the head there. When the beer poured, incidentally, it had about 2/3 of a finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of cream coloured head. But yeah, just a nice kind of steady stream of bubbles going up there, and nice clarity to this one. Other than that, I don't think there's anything we need to say about the appearance of this beer. Let's have a wee look at the aroma. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this one I think is very, very nice. It gives you everything you would want, and as I say, I've not had too many beers that have been specifically called American lagers. So this one for me, the backbone of it is kind of like a fresh white bread crust. On top of that, you do get this kind of wet white bready sort of thing. I'm also getting a little bit of a kind of wholemeal brown bready character as well. yeah, definitely got a little bit of that wholemeal brown bready sort of thing, for sure. There's a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit, and you almost get a wee bit of kind of honey out of the malt base in this beer as well, but mainly quite wet and quite bready, I would say. Yeah, it's really nice. On the hoppy side of things, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of similar to what you would expect from like a German lager or a Czech lager, something like this. The hoppy side of things isn't, you know, it isn't going to blow the head off you. So there's a wee bit of earthiness in there, some nice bright floral character. You've also got a wee bit of a kind of wetter grassiness in this beer too. So yeah, it's kind of like the floral character is a little bit different, a little bit kind of brighter and more oily. It's almost got a little bit, the green component's almost a little bit West Coast IPA-ish, but just not quite as pungent. So yeah, definitely a bit of an oily grassiness in there, some oily floral characters, and also just a little bit of earthiness. On the fruity side of things, yeah, a little bit of a kind of, definitely a little bit of a sort of oily pear, wee bit of apricot, yeah, something like this. On the yeah, wee bit of pear, wee bit of apricot, maybe a little bit of sultana. All kind of things you'd expect, to be honest with you. I'm very curious to see how this is going to differ from like a German or a Czech lager, because I've not had, as I say, too many beers that are specifically called American lagers. But let's get stuck into this one then. Our first beer here at Olarin Panimo in Helsinki. Slange, skål, cheers. This is the Maricello 5.2% American lager. Let's do this. Kippis. You know, that's nice. For me, first impression is it's a little bit sweeter in the malt base. The hops are a wee bit more oily, and yet, you know, it is really just like a kind of wet and oily lager beer, but definitely a wee bit sweeter. I mean, the obvious styles to compare this to would be, you know, the Pilsner you want to compare it to, the Helles, and also the Czech Svetli, and perhaps the Czech Litsak as well, actually. It's maybe got a little bit of the sweetness of the Czech Litsak, the amber lager. But yeah, it is more like a kind of, I've got the kind of cleanliness of a Pilsner, but more, yeah, the flavour profile of a Czech Litsak. I think that's probably a good way to describe it, but it's maybe just not quite as brown sugary as that. And the hoppy character is just slightly different too. But I like this, I do like this beer. You know, we've had Mexican lagers on a couple of the videos recently, which have been very good. But yeah, this gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, so on the on the malty side of things, and it's quite similar to what I described in the aroma. The backbone of this one has a nice kind of like fresh hedgehog roll type bread crust to it. You do get a nice bit of graininess there, and that obviously intensifies the further back on the palate you go. In the middle of your palate, you've got a wee bit more of a kind of brown bready sort of thing. Yeah, you've got a wee bit of a more brown bready sort of thing. You've got a kind of oily caramelly note coming out of this one as well, like in the dead centre of your palate, and as you move further out from that, it becomes a little bit more kind of biscuity, McVitie's digestive biscuit like, which I really do enjoy. Yeah, so brown, yeah, wholemeal sort of brown bread crust. That is the other thing I'd say about this beer, is it is quite grainy for a lager. And then yeah, so yeah, bread crust, brown bread, sweet caramel, and then a bit of biscuit in the middle of the palate. But it's really nicely done, I have to say. It gets a thumbs up from me. I like this one. Yeah, hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, it definitely has a wee bit of an earthiness to it. As you move further forward, it develops more of a kind of floral, aromatic type quality, and round the front curve of the palate, it's a bit lighter and grassy. The interesting thing about the green component is that the floral notes are quite prominent. But, yeah, the floral notes are quite prominent. But then the grassiness is really quite wet and light. So yeah, the hoppy notes are a bit different compared to what you would expect from the aroma. So yeah, I think that's everything about the green component. Fruity side of the beer, front third of your palate, a little bit oily, for sure, kind of bread crust underneath again, but yeah, toward the back of that, there's a wee bit of, you do get that sort of oily, you get more of a kind of dry sultana in there. There's maybe a little touch of like a grapefruity note as well. So you get a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of sultana, but as you move further forward it sweetens up and you've got more of that kind of oily, peary sort of thing coming out of this one. I think that covers the flavour profile of this beer, to be honest with you. Mouthfeel wise, light bodied, carbonation is quite crisp on this one. It's a mix of wet and oily in its mouthfeel. IBU wise, it's interesting this because the floral notes are quite prominent, but I think this is maybe 30 IBUs at the absolute most. Malt base, as we said, is a bit grainy but also a little bit sweet, and then you've also got the kind of nice fruity characters coming out of this beer as well. So yeah, really nice one this. This is the Marichello, an American lager at 5.2% ABV from Olarin Panimo here in Helsinki. Catch you guys in a second with something else. Alright guys, so a little quick look at the tap list then here at Olarin Panimo. So yeah, first off, the Not for Jokinen, 8%, kind of West Coasty type IPA. Then they have the Soft Cap, New England IPA. The Marichello, which is a 5.2% American lager. The Nasty Gran, which is a Berliner Weiss. The Barley Grind, which I actually tried at Uova in the city centre. The Pilsner, 5.3%. The Runaway New England IPA, which won Best Beer in the New England category, I believe, last year. And then the MC Takiborsta IPA remix, if I've pronounced that correctly. These Finnish words are just crazy. But then there is also the Tangy Tips, which is a sour saison with spruce tips at 5.7% ABV. So a nice little tap list here. Nothing dark, but Riku was telling me that to get dark beers on tap in Finland is a little bit difficult during the summer months. But yeah, those are the beers that we have here today at Olarin Panimo. There we are. Alright guys, so as you saw, they've got the brewery here, and it's actually quite an impressive setup, come to think of it. You can see that, there's their cannon line, there's their kind of, a good number of the fermentation tanks and things like that. So yeah, I guess this is their cook station over here. But you can also get some growlers and things too, poured straight out the tap. So they've got Tangy Tips today, and also the Intentional Drops New England IPA. So yeah, pretty impressive little brewery facility here. Awesome. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 2 then here at Olarin Panimo. So, the second beer that we are going to have a look at is by all accounts really quite special. So this, I believe, won the award for the best Finnish beer overall last year. So, looking forward to trying this, and very cool to be able to try it at source in the brewery. So this beer is called Runaway. It comes in at 7% ABV, and as you can tell from the appearance, this one is a New England hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, in terms of appearance, it's very light in its colour. You've got this lovely kind of sort of pale, I would say pineapple juice type colour. When it poured, it had about a half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, and a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there, but you can see the head has faded away to just be a very thin foamy layer. So yeah, this should be quite interesting as well. And I forgot to mention in the first tasting, I haven't tried too much in the way of lighter beers from Olarin. Most of the beers that I've had from them have been kind of big heavy ones, if memory serves me correctly, and that's just because of the fact that Riku collects these beers over the years, so we need things that will last. But yeah, very curious to see what this is going to have in store for us. So appearance wise, nothing surprising when you consider the style, but let's have a little look at the aroma then. Yeah, aroma wise, this is very nice. I would say the malty side of things with this, it actually comes across as being a little bit more oak forward, but it's also got a little bit of that kind of porridgey, wet bready sort of thing. So yeah, this is really nice. So yeah, backbone of this beer, lovely kind of soft white bread crust. On top of that, of course, white bread from the pale malt. You've got a lovely, nice kind of oaty creaminess coming out of this one. And yeah, at the back of the nose, you do get a little bit of that wheaty. You do get a little bit of that kind of wheaty, bitey sort of thing coming out of this beer, which I really like. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. It's similar to the other New England IPAs that we've had in Finland so far, in the sense that it doesn't have such a big sweet component. You only get a tiny, tiny little bit of that kind of golden promise type thing, that little bit of biscuitiness and that little bit of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy type note. Yeah, it's interesting, this beer, for sure. Yeah, so malty side of things has everything I would want from the style. On the hoppy side of the beer, there's a little touch of earthiness in there. You do get some nice bright floral notes. It leans toward a more zesty, grassy kind of thing, actually. And the fruity side of things is quite nice as well. I forgot to mention earlier on that the hops in this beer are Mosaic and Wai-iti. Mosaic we know quite well, 14% alpha acid, American, big tangerine notes. Wai-iti, if I remember correctly, about 6% alpha acid, New Zealand hop, and it gives you this lovely kind of sort of apricot-y, sultani, pineapple-y kind of note, actually. So you're getting both of these hops in abundance in this one. I'm getting lots of juicy tangerine, and then underneath that, definitely this sort of apricot-y, peary, sultana type note. Not too much in the way of pineapple, which is quite interesting, but yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is really nice. So I think it's about time that we tasted this one. So yeah, this one is the Runaway New England IPA, 7% ABV. Yeah, one of the best beers in Finland last year or this year, I forget. But yeah, a very highly rated beer from here in Finland, from Holarin Panimo. Slàinte, skål, cheers, kippies. Oh yeah, that is very, very nice. Yeah, what you'll see with this beer when it mellows out, it's a very juicy New England IPA, but it's got a lovely, yeah, it's a very juicy New England IPA, but it has this lovely, it also just has this lovely kind of oaty, bready backbone. It's really, really nice, for sure. Yeah, this is definitely worth trying if you get the chance. Let's break this down and explain it a wee bit more. So backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely fresh white bread crust. On top of that, white bread for sure. And then in the middle of the palate you get that, you do get a little bit of that porridgey, oaty, creamy sort of thing. So yeah, big porridgey, oaty, creamy sort of thing. The oats I find in this beer are actually a little bit dry, which is kind of interesting. So you have this, in the centre of your palate, you've got this little circle where it's that sort of wet porridgey flavour, and on top of that, the kind of dry, oaty character. The more that you drink of this as well, and the further back on the palate you go, you start to get that sort of, you do get a little bit of that wheaty bitiness out of it, which I really like. So yeah, a little bit of wheaty bitiness at the back of the palate, and you get more of that the more that you drink of this beer as well. But as I say, it just has this wetness. I think it's just because it's so fresh. We're drinking it at source, of course. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is very, very nice. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, you get a little bit of that more kind of floral aromatic sort of thing coming out, and you get the nice juicy, you get that nice little bit of lighter grassy character coming out of the beer as well. The green component for me though leans more towards that floral side of things. The grassiness is quite wet actually, so it gets a big thumbs up from me, this one. Yeah, I like it. I do like how this goes together. Yeah, fruity wise, let's look at that to round off the flavour. So yeah, fruity wise for me, It's kind of what I would expect from these hops. I don't get Wai-iti all that often, but it is very nice. So at the back of that front third of the palate, for me, there's a little bit of a kind of mango-y type thing for sure. I'm getting some nice juicy mango out of it, but it really is that I get a lot of apricot out of this. And I always remember when I had the IPAs in New Zealand and Wai-iti gave you this big apricot-y sort of thing. Toward the middle of that front third of your palate, I actually do get quite a little bit of pineapple out of it, but in the front half, it's all about the mosaic. You get that nice juicy tangerine note out of this one. So yeah, the way it goes together, I think, on the fruity side of things is very, very nice. This beer gets a big thumbs up from me. And again, it really reminds me of the sort of 2016, 2017 things, you know, the IPAs we were having in Sweden, the Amazing Haze, the Narangi, stuff like that. Not a sweet New England IPA. On the mouthfeel, yeah, mid-bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth. It's kind of creamy, this one. It does have a nice little bit of creaminess to it. IBU wise, I think it's about 25. Doesn't really feel that bitter at all. Malt base, as we said, is really nice and smooth. Little touch of sweetness out of it later on, a bit of biscuit and things. And then you've got that lovely juicy fruity character. But yeah, lovely New England IPA, this one. And so it gets a big, big thumbs up from me. I think we're going to do one more tasting after this one, and that'll be our time up here at Olarin Panimo. So yeah, I'll catch you with something from the opposite coast, I think, next. Catch you guys in just a second. Cheers. Alright guys, well, let's have a closer look at the bottles and cans and things that they have available here. There's a fan or something going above me, so hopefully that doesn't make too much noise. But there you can see the Barley Grind Pilsner, Hops in the Hood IPA, the Marichello Lager Beer, American Lager. Down here they've got a few different things from their Counterstroke series. Then they have more Hops in the Hood IPA, Barley Grind again. Here they have the Nasty Granny, which is a Berliner Weisse. They have the Wee Heavy, Wee Dosed, I think it's called, Wee Heavy. We'll need to get a bottle of that to put in the next Riku box. Then they have this one, the Ostarkin Rokitehti, that one, which is another Pilsner. Over here they have Hepialus Humuli, which is a paleo actually, and then they have this one here. I'm not sure how we're going to say this, but yeah, an IPA remix apparently. We come over here to the cans. Then we have the Runaway New England IPA, which is very highly rated. I think that's one that we're going to need to try. Then they have this one here. I'm not sure of the name of that actually, and this is going to be the thing in these finished videos. I'm going to make mistakes with some of the pronunciations, but yeah, there's the Hazy Hoods New England IPA, Hazy Hoods version 2, I think that would be, the Ewing Oil and Imperial Stout, California IPA, that would just be a West Coaster. Then a few other things down here, another Swig of Brew, another Night of Chaos. Need to have a little look at that. I like the name of that one. But yeah, they've got a few guest beers over here. They've got some Maistila from Riku's hometown of Oulu, a little bit of Gamma. Not sure where this one comes from actually. A little bit of Bierbibliothek from Gothenburg, some Arpus from Latvia. Over here, I forget who this is. That brewery's gone out of my head. Maybe that is Mad Scientist. Actually, I'm not 100% sure about that one, but yeah, Paladsaman Panimo, an American Pale Ale. Then there they have the Bulk Gibbons or something like that, not sure. An English Coffee Porter from Paladsaman again, Horchata, No Milk Stout. Then a few Berliner Weisses and things down here as well. Something from Mikkeller too. So yeah, that's a quick look at the bottles that they have. They do have some merch here as well. You can get an Olarin Panimo t-shirt. But yeah, they've got all their awards and things over here too, which is pretty cool. So these are obviously for a number of the different beers that they've done. But yeah, t-shirt is €30, and I'm not sure what cassie is, but whatever that is €6 as well. But yeah, that's a quick look at the shop for you here in Olarin Panimo. So yeah. Alright guys, well, time for our third and final tasting then here at Olarin Panimo. So yeah, like I said to you, they've got a bull outside, and it's not often you can say that when you go to a brewery that they have a plastic bull. So I thought we have to get this into the video. But yeah, for our third and final beer, I thought we would try something that I very, very much enjoy. So this beer is called Not For Jokinen. It comes in at 8.1% ABV, and it is pretty much a West Coast double IPA. So Riku told me that Jokinen is one of the most common surnames here in Finland, so the name has the same significance in English as saying like, oh, not for John Smith, not for your average Joe kind of thing, because this beer is 99 IBUs, so I think it is going to be exactly what I would want from the West Coast style. And this is one of their older beers, apparently. It has been done a few times. So yeah, this should be quite a nice way to round off our tastings here before we go over to Fat Lizard just over there. Looking forward to that. So yeah, on the colour, I would say this one is a very light amber. There's not much in the way of visible carbonation. There is a steady stream though, just going up toward the bottom of the head there. With this one, you can see when this beer poured, it poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of slightly cream coloured head, but it certainly looks very nice. You can see this beer is pretty much crystal clear. When it comes to these more West Coasty IPAs, they can have a little bit of natural haze, but quite often they do have a lot more clarity than their New England counterparts, of course. So nothing untoward, nothing surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is, but yeah, I think we can have a little look at the aroma of this one now. So let's do it. I'm going to say, on the aroma, this one is actually really quite mild, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, for me, this beer, it's got a big, deep green component to it, but it's not overly, you know, it's not overly kind of resinous or anything like that. It is actually just really, kind of straightforward. Yeah, so yeah, you get this nice kind of deep floral aromatic note to it, a little bit of resinous character, a wee bit of a kind of grassy note as well. But yeah, it's nice. Let's look at the malty side of things though. So the malty backbone, you definitely get a little bit of that kind of fresh white bread crust. There's a bit of white bread in there, there's a bit of wholemeal bread, but I'm also getting some, yeah, I'm also getting some really nice kind of boozy, slightly caramelly notes out of this one, but that isn't too prominent, if that makes sense. And you can kind of tell from the colour of this beer as well, it's not going to be very caramel leaning. It would be a lot darker if it had, you know, caramel or Turo or crystal or things in it. I don't think this one has too much in the way of that. Of course, you've got many different types of Turo and crystal, so that's a kind of maybe not the most accurate statements I've just made there. But remember, the colour of your beer depends mainly on the type of malts that you put in, but I suspect this one will not be madly caramelly. But yeah, anyway, like I said, good little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit sort of character coming out of it. You do get a little bit of the booziness as well, which you would expect at 8.1% ABV. Yeah, I think other than that, there's not too much to say about the malty side of things. We've gone through the green component, a bit earthy, nice deep floral aromatic notes, little touch spicy, good little bit of grassiness as well. So yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is quite nice. On the fruity side of things, there's not too much going on with this one. You've got a little bit of a sort of oily mango-y note to it, maybe a little bit of that peary apricot-y note. I feel I'm using these descriptors a hell of a lot, but yeah, you have got a little bit of that more oily mango-y character. I think there's maybe a bit of citra in this going from the aroma, because you do get that mango, you get that oily mango, and you also get a little bit of that lemon limey note, and also a wee touch of the kind of gooseberry thing. So I'm pretty sure citra will be one of the hops in this. It didn't say on the rate beer or Untapped what the hops were, because Riku had a little look at that before I came out to film this one. But yeah, it goes together really, really nicely, I have to say. It's kind of what you would expect from a West Coast IPA, but the thing that's interesting about this is that it's 99 IBUs, which indicates a lot of early addition hopping. but you don't get that. The aroma of this one is actually quite mild, to be honest with you. It doesn't jump out the glass at you. But needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So let's do this. This is the Not for Jokinen, not for John Smith, or not for your average Joe, I guess we could say in English. An 8.1% West Coast Double IPA. Let's get stuck in. Sláinte, skål, cheers, keepies. Ooh, that's nice. So as I've always said to you, for me there are two directions you can take a West Coast IPA in. Either it can be more kind of biscuity and sort of bready, if you like, such as Pliny the Elder, or it can be a little bit more kind of oily and caramelly, such as the Sierra Nevada Torpedo. This one is more of a Pliny the Elder type West Coast IPA, and there's a thing about this that strikes me as being kind of old school. I think this might be a Sea Hop West Coast IPA. Yeah, it's very nice, this one, and for being 99 IBUs, you don't get such a big bitterness out of it. It's actually a really nice, kind of fairly easy drinking beer, and for an 8%er, that's a bit dangerous, I would say, but I like this. I do like this. So let's have a wee look at the beer and break it down properly. So, backbone of the beer, absolutely a little bit of fresh white bread crust. You've got white bread on top of that, but as you go further back on the palate, it becomes a little bit more like a kind of wholemeal bready sort of thing. In the middle of your palate, you've got this kind of oily circle where you get the kind of caramel, where you get the more kind of brown sugary notes. So in the dead centre of the palate, there is a little bit of a sweet caramel, but it's almost a little bit more kind of honey-like. And as you move out from that, it gets gradually more, yeah, it gets gradually more kind of biscuity, like McVitie's Digestive Biscuits, actually. So that, yeah, you'll see that it gets gradually more like that the further out into the, out toward the extremities of your palate in that middle third. But yeah, the back third of your palate is definitely more kind of bread crust, grainy brown bread, and also a little bit of white bread. You do get a little bit more yeasty character out of this one than that. On the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, it does have a good little bit of earthiness, but as you come further forward, you do get a little bit of that kind of piney resin with this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of... took a little bit of that down the wrong way there. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a little bit of the kind of... if there's a bit of Columbus or Chinook in this one. There is that wee bit of pine resin in there, but you also have this kind of spicy floral aromatic note. So the pine resin is most likely to be Chinook. The spicy note is most likely to be Columbus. So yeah, around the front curve of the palate, it's a bit more wetter and more kind of grassy and things, but the green component is really nice. But like I say, it's not the most pungent. It doesn't kind of take over the flavour, as can sometimes happen with these West Coast IPAs. So yeah, I think this is nice from the malty and the green component. I miss these beers. I've said this on the channel many a time. I do miss the old school West Coast IPAs. Let's look at the fruity side of things. Yeah, fruity side of the beer is really nice and oily, and I think Citra in this, I really do. So toward the back of that front third of your palate, definitely a bit of that stronger grapefruity, passion fruity sort of thing. As you come forward, it's a little bit lighter and more kind of mango-like. In the middle of your palate, you will get a little touch of apricot-y, kind of pineapple-y notes. But then, yeah, as you move into the front third of your palate, the front half of that front third of your palate, sorry, mixing up my L's and my R's. Not had too many beers today, right enough, but getting there. So with this one, you know, you get a little bit more of that in the front half of the front third of your palate. You've got a wee bit of the more gooseberry thing, and then on top of that you get the lemon limey notes. In a West Coast IPA, Citra will show you a more oily gooseberry lychee sort of thing underneath the lemon limey character, and you're definitely getting that in this. I'm near enough like 95% sure there is Citra in this one, and I'm pretty sure there's a bit of Columbus and Chinook in there as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of Centennial, because the further you go into the aftertaste, you really do get more of that kind of lemony, limey, zesty character out of this. But that is a very, very nice kind of West Coast IPA. The guy behind the bar was saying to me, it's like, oh, this is as closest to a West Coast as you're going to get. So he kind of, I think, thought this wasn't like a proper kind of West Coast, but to me this is. It's just a more biscuity sort of Pliny the Elder type West Coast, rather than being big and oily and caramelly. This is very good. Let's round off with the mouthfeel then. So, mouthfeel wise, I'd say top end and mid-bodied. The carbonation is yeah, it has a bit of crispness to it, this one, but this beer's got a nice kind of slightly light oiliness to it. In the malt base, you've got a good wee bit of sweetness, for sure, like mix of bread underneath, but then it really gets sweeter and oily the further that you go. But then on top of that, you've got that big bitterness, and the bitterness, you don't notice it at first, but it kind of really builds into the aftertaste. Then the fruity side of things is well balanced between the kind of more tropical and more citrusy side, and like I said earlier, it is just a little bit kind of oily as well. But yeah, I like this one. So this was the Not for Jokinen, an 8.1% I believe, or 8.2% West Coast double IPA. That is the end of your third and final tasting then here at Olarin Panimo, so I'll give you my final thoughts from over there in just a second. Catch you guys then. Cheers. Alright guys, well that is our time up then here at Olarin Panimo. So yeah, I had a really nice couple of hours here once again. Got to try 3 different beers. We tried the American Lager, the Runaway New England IPA, and also the Not for Jokinen, a really lovely old school West Coast Seahop IPA. One of their oldest beers apparently, one of the very first ones they produced. But yeah, I really enjoyed it here. The little 250ml beers that I had were €5 each, which is pretty good for Finnish prices. So €5 is about $5. Maybe £4.50 sterling these days, you know, as of July 2022, and yeah, somewhere in the region of like 50 Swedish kroner. Yeah, so got to try the 3 different beers. My only complaint would be that there wasn't anything dark on tap, but again, Riku is telling me that in Finland that's very difficult during the summer months. You don't get black IPAs, you don't get imperial stouts and things during the summer. That's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, I actually made a mistake in this video as well, because I haven't done a sit-down review of Olarin Panimo for you, but Riku has 1 or 2 beers for me that I will review a little bit later with Riku box number 3, I think we're on now. But yeah, really enjoyed visiting Olarin Panimo here at the Aalto campus in Helsinki. So definitely come and check out this place if you get the chance. Some really, really good quality beer. The guys behind the bar were awesome, and I really enjoyed this. So yeah, catch you guys on the next one. We're going to have a little walk over to Fat Lizard, and you'll see some other videos there. So Slange just now, enjoy this one. Make sure you check out Olarin Panimo here in Helsinki. Kiitos and kiitos.